So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time within 30 minutes. Now, the purpose of this lecture series is very simple. We know that you need to cover your current affairs for civil services examination, and current affairs need to be covered on a daily basis. But the problem is that you can't spend your entire day just reading the newspaper or covering that day's current affairs. Therefore, to help you guys, to facilitate you guys, we will cover your entire day's current affairs within 30 minutes. That's the purpose of this lecture series. Now, just watching this lecture would be job half done. You need to revise this lecture as well. Why? Well, revision helps you to remember these current affairs for longer periods of time, or else you'll forget them very quickly in a couple of days' time. Okay, so revision is very important if you want to retain these current affairs in your memory for a long period of time. Now, where can you revise these current affairs? Well, you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes shall be made available on our Telegram channel. Now, where can you find our Telegram channel? So below this video in the comment section, I have shared a link to our Telegram channel. All you have to do is just click on that link. It will take you to our Telegram channel. And from there, you can download the notes for this lecture. Okay? And then you can start revising. So 30 minutes of watching this lecture and 20 minutes of revising this lecture. And in about 50 minutes time, you'll be done for the day as far as current affairs are concerned. Of course, you need time for other parts of your UPSC syllabus like polity, geography, history. But as far as current affairs are concerned, you don't have to worry about them after spending these required 50 minutes. All right, enough of the introduction. Let's straight away jump into the lecture. First, let's take a look at the topics we shall cover today. So here's a list of today's topics. Number one is China-led WTO Pact. So China is actually presenting an agreement with respect to investment, okay, in WTO, World Trade Organization. So what is this China-led pact, and why is India refusing to join this? We'll talk about this issue. Then recently, US President Joe Biden pardoned his son. His son was accused of certain criminal offenses, and his judgment was about to come. I mean, the judgment for his cases they were about to come. But US President Joe Biden pardoned his son. Now he won't be punished. Now, this brings into question the pardoning power of US President, and we'll make a comparison with the pardoning power of Indian President. Okay, so what is this pardoning power? We'll talk about this. In the end, we'll talk about two more issues. Number three would be snakebite, a notifiable disease, because Union Health Ministry has told all the states that you should make snakebite a notifiable disease. Now, why did Health Ministry say so? We'll talk about this. And in the end, we'll talk about Cauvery drinking water project, which provides drinkable water to Bangalore. Okay, so this issue has been in controversy. So we'll take a look at this issue in its totality. All right. So these are the four issues that we'll focus our attention on. Let's start the discussion with topic number one, that is China-led WTO Pact. Okay. So here's the thing. So there is an agreement called Investment Facilitation for Development Agreement. This will basically facilitate foreign investment in different parts of the world, okay, especially developing and least developed countries. And this agreement is being led by China. China is pushing through this agreement so that this agreement gets passed in WTO's ministerial conference. Now, this agreement, which is China-led, has already gained the support of 128 countries. But India is not in favor of this agreement. Okay, and India is supported by other countries like South Africa, Namibia, Turkey. India, along with the like-minded countries, believe that this agreement would undermine the policy space of weaker nations. So basically what India's allegation is that we are not opposing this agreement just because it is led by China. We are not doing that. We are opposing this agreement because once this agreement is in force, then the freedom to make policies regarding foreign investment in our own country would be taken away from us. Okay. Currently, India has complete freedom with respect to decisions related to foreign investment. But once this agreement is in force, then India would be bound by rules of this agreement. Therefore, India won't be that free in making decisions or policy decisions with respect to foreign investment in India. Okay, because this agreement has legally binding provisions. Okay, so if India signs this agreement or if this agreement gets passed in WTO, then those legally binding provisions would be adhered to by India, and India would lose the freedom of taking decisions with respect to foreign investment. Okay. Currently, USA is not opposing this. Okay. Despite the fact that it is China led, but USA sees that this agreement can benefit them also. But because it is China led, so USA is not joining this agreement also. So USA is neither opposing, nor joining this agreement. Okay. It opted to stay out of this agreement. All right. Now, what is this agreement? Okay. It is a joint initiative launched at the 11th WTO Ministerial Conference in December 2017. So, in December 2017, WTO's highest decision making body, which meets every 2 years, WTO Ministerial Conference, met in 2017. Okay. And this initiative, this agreement was launched there. It was then supported by 70 countries. Now, what is this agreement? This agreement aims to create legally binding provisions to facilitate investment flows and help greater participation by developing and least developed countries. Okay, what China argues is that once this agreement is in force, then all the countries of the world would be bound by certain legally binding provisions of this agreement. Now, China says that these legally binding provisions are not harmful. In fact, they promote investment, and China says that this would promote investment in especially developing and least developed countries. Okay, so these legally binding provisions, though they are legally binding, they would take your freedom away, countries' freedom away to regulate foreign investment in their own country. But these legally binding provisions are essential for investors to feel safe. And that is why, through these provisions, investments in developing and least developed countries would increase. So that is why China is pushing for this. China is also an investor nation. China invests in a lot of countries. So it wants easy provisions or easy rules for investing in these countries. So does many other countries who have a lot of money, who want to invest in developing countries. So that is why these countries are pushing for this agreement. And many developing countries are also pushing for this agreement because they think that it would increase investment flow in their country. But India has rightly opposed this agreement. India basically says that developing countries are not able to see what is wrong with this agreement. In their greed for investment flow, they are unable to see that once this agreement is in force, they would lose their freedom of regulating foreign investments in their country. So, to serve their greed of high investments, they are giving up on their powers to regulate foreign investment. Okay, so developing countries should be cautious of this agreement, and Namibia agrees to this. India says this, and Namibia agrees to it. South Africa agrees to it. In fact, Turkey has also joined India in this. Okay, but at present, 128 out of 166 WTO members are in support of this agreement. So India and its like-minded countries are in a minority. They are in minority. All right. Now, 2024 Ministerial Conference of WTO is happening in Abu Dhabi. Okay, it is the 13th Ministerial Conference that is happening in Abu Dhabi in 2024, and a call would be taken on this agreement there. All right. Now, what are the major features of this agreement? So it would improve regulatory transparency and predictability. Okay. So these rules would ensure that no country can hide rules and regulations and investment flows. So it would boost transparency and predictability. It would also make it easy for foreign investor to enter a country. Okay. I mean, insert their investment in that country. Okay. So it would improve rules, make them more liberal. Okay. And administrative hurdles, bureaucratic red tape would be reduced, enhancing international cooperation and addressing the needs of developing members. So that's what China says. China says that this agreement might seem that it would take your freedom away, but it would definitely benefit developing members because it would increase investments in their countries and many more. All right. So this is an agreement championed by China and gets the support of many developing countries, but India and other countries are opposing this. All right. Okay. Now let's move on to second issue, which is pardoning power of president. Now see, here is Joe Biden. You know him. He is currently the president of USA. He would stay there till January. Okay, when Donald Trump would take the reins of American presidency from him. But he's still the president till January. Now, his son was accused of a lot of criminal charges. Okay, he had a lot of criminal cases pending against him, and the judgments to those criminal cases were about to come. But before that judgment could come against his own son, he pardoned him. Now, what do we mean by pardon? Pardon means that yes, he might be found guilty of those criminal offenses, but he won't be punished. Okay, so president pardoned his sentence. So, United States President Joe Biden has issued a full and unconditional pardon for his son Hunter Biden, who was awaiting sentences in two cases related to tax evasion and lying about drug use while buying a handgun. Okay. Now, Washington D.C. Many experts from Washington D.C. say that the president might use this power to pardon other members or other allies of his. Okay. He has used this power to pardon his own son. He might use this pardoning power to be applied to some of his friends, okay, which might be persecuted by the new president, Donald Trump. So, when Donald Trump comes to power, Democrats or Joe Biden and his party feel that they would be targeted by Donald Trump. So, before he comes, he wants to issue unconditional pardon for them also. He has issued unconditional pardon for his son. Okay. Now, many people are criticizing this because you are using your power to promote nepotism. Basically, you are using your power to basically help your own son. That is not what is expected out of a statesman. All right. Still, that is not our issue. We are not going to get into the political controversy of this issue. We'll talk about the pardoning power of president and the pardoning power of Indian president. All right. So first, let's talk about US president's pardoning power. So Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of American Constitution grants the US President power to pardon or reprieve. That means reduce the sentence offenses against United States. Okay. So he has the power to pardon anyone who has committed an offense against United States. Okay. But there are two exceptions to this power. Okay. President can pardon only criminal offenses, not civil offenses. Okay. And those criminal offenses should be criminal under federal law. Like in India, there are two types of law enacted by center, that is parliament, and law enacted by states, that is state legislative assemblies. Similarly, in USA also there are two types of laws: federal law, that is at the central level, and state law. So the president has the power to pardon a person who has committed a crime under federal law only. If he is accused of a crime under a state law, president cannot pardon him. Okay, so there is this one exception. Second exception is president cannot grant pardon in cases of impeachment. Okay, so impeachment is removal of a person from public office. So in those cases, no pardon can be granted by the president. Okay, now what does the word pardon mean? This is important. So if a court finds you guilty, okay, then a court punishes you also. When a particular court of law finds you guilty of a criminal offense, we say that the court has convicted you. Okay, so there is a conviction. Now, after conviction, the court will give you a prison sentence, basically, okay, or would dictate your punishment to you. Now, the pardon actually eliminates the punishment part. He would still be called a convicted person. His conviction won't be overturned. Only the right of a court to punish him would be overturned. So he would be convicted. He would be found guilty of that offense, but he won't get the punishment because the president has pardoned his sentence. All right. And there is one more special thing. Okay. This you also need to know. There is a thing called preemptive pardon. Okay. Now, what does this preemptive pardon mean? Let's suppose you have committed an offense, criminal offense in USA. Okay. But no charges have been brought against you in any court of law. You have committed that offense, but your case is not going on in any court, or it hasn't even started in any court. No charges have been pressed against you, but you have committed that crime. Now, preemptive pardon means that the president knows that because he has committed this offense, now a case would go on against him in a court of law. Okay, it would it would start in the near future. So the president would pardon him before even charges are pressed against that person, before even the case starts against him. Okay, so when you pardon a person before a case against him has been started in a court of law, that is known as preemptive pardon. Okay, so you are preemptively pardoning him before anyone files a case against him. Now, this thing is allowed in USA. Okay, US president can do that, but Indian president cannot do that. Indian president can only pardon a person if there is a case going on against him and if a punishment has been awarded to that person. preemptive pardoning power is not with Indian president, but it is with USA president, and USA president can do that. So people are saying that Joe Biden might preemptively pardon some of his friends who he feels that would be targeted by Donald Trump. Though there are no pending cases against those friends of his right now. But he fears that once Donald Trump comes into power, cases would be filed against them. So he might preemptively pardon them. Okay, this is allowed in USA. Now let's talk about Indian president's pardoning power. Okay, so the pardoning power of Indian president comes from Article 72, which states that the Constitution empowers President of India the power to grant pardon, reprieves, respite, remission of punishment, or to suspend, remit, or commute the sentence of any person convicted of the following offences. So, President can pardon only in these cases if the punishment or sentence is by court martial. Okay, court martial, you understand, defense related. In all cases where the punishment or sentence is for an offense against any law relating to a matter to which executive power of the union extends. So, president can grant pardon only in the cases where the person has committed a crime in union law, basically where the power of union executive extends. All right, and the president can of India can grant pardon in cases of death sentence. Okay, now that death sentence can be in a state law or a central law. If it is a death sentence, President of India can pardon him. If it's not a death sentence, then President of India can only pardon a person if he has committed an offense in union law. Right? Now, a five-judge constitution bench in Maruram versus Union of India says that since President of India is a constitutional office, okay, the word president doesn't mean that president unilaterally has that power. As you all know, that president is bound by the aid and advice of Council of Ministers. So his pardoning power is also subjected to this aid and advice. So a president cannot grant pardon on his own discretion. Okay, he has to listen to the advice of Council of Ministers. Okay, so this is there. Plus, his pardoning power won't be subject to judicial review. The court has made it clear that judicial review won't be taken up in this case. No one can raise a question against this action by president until and unless the court feels that his decision was very rare and wholly irrelevant, irrational, discriminatory, or malified. Okay, so these are the pardoning powers of Indian president. All right, now let's move on to our next issue, which is snake bite, a notifiable disease. So what has happened? Okay, Union Health Ministry has urged state governments to make snake bites a notifiable disease. Now, there are various diseases in India. Some of them have been given a tag or status of notifiable disease. So, if a particular disease is called a notifiable disease, then that disease is legally required to be reported to the government by both private and public hospitals. Okay, so if a disease is a notifiable disease, then every case of that disease has to be reported to the government, because this helps the government in proper disease surveillance and policy action. Okay, so the government is able to properly conduct surveillance on the occurrence of those diseases. Okay, that's the advantage of awarding the status of notifiable disease to a particular disease. Now, Union Health Ministry has said that snake bites should be included in this category. Okay, because India suffers a lot from snake bites, and once states have given the status of notifiable disease to snake bites, then the government of India would be able to properly conduct surveillance of this disease. Okay, and it would have the necessary information to take policy decisions. In fact, National Action Plan for Prevention and Control of Snakebite Envenoming (NAPSE), which has resolved to halve the snakebite cases or snakebite related deaths by 2030. So this action plan was launched to halve the number of snakebite related deaths by 2030. They also gave this recommendation of making this a notifiable disease. Okay. Now, why is central government, Union Health Ministry, desiring to make snakebite a notifiable disease? Maybe snakebite is a very big thing in India. Snakebite is a very big problem in India, right? That is why Union Health Ministry has said that make it a notifiable disease. So what is the situation of snake bites in India? Okay. So some 3 to 4 million cases of snake bites are reported every year, and these are just reported. Some of them are not even reported. So 30 lakh to 40 lakh, 3 to 4 million cases of snake bites are there, of which 58,000 people die annually. So it's a lot. It should be called a notifiable disease. Now, in India, there are 310 snake species. Of them, 66 are venomous. That means their bite has venom, poison. 42 are mildly venomous. That means their poison is not that dangerous. And 23 snake species are such that their venom is very dangerous. Their poison is so dangerous that it can take your life. 23 of them are such. Okay. Now, 90% of snake bites in the country are caused by the big four. These big four are the four major snake species in India: Indian cobra, common krait, Russell's viper, and saw-scaled viper. So these are the four snake species in India that are called the big four. 90% of the snake bite cases come from this big four. All right. Now, still, snake bite is a big problem in India. But why is Union Health Ministry hell bent on making this a notifiable disease? Okay, surely there are some challenges in tackling this disease also. That is why Union Health Ministry is saying that make it a notifiable disease. First of all, it's a big problem in India. And second, there are various challenges in tackling this disease. So what are those challenges? First of all, snake bite, like any other disease, is very dangerous. In fact, it can take your life. So, snake bites can lead to acute medical emergencies like severe paralysis. And sometimes, because of this paralysis, you can't even breathe. And it leads to fatal hemorrhage. Hemorrhage means internal bleeding. Okay. So, it's quite dangerous. So, that is why it should be called a notifiable disease because, like many other dangerous diseases, it is also fatal. Also, all right. Then, many people in India do not get the required treatment the at the right time. Okay. Snake bite victims either do not reach a healthcare center in time or do not go there at all. Many of them go to local faith-based healers, quacks. Okay. So there is a problem of delay in treatment, which can be fatal for people, right? Then lack of training and equipment. In many cases, staff at hospitals are not adequately trained in treating snake bites. Tests for confirming snake bites are also not available. Okay, so test kits are also not available. Make sense? So that is why it is important to declare it a notifiable disease, because then government would basically put in more and money and resources to train people, to provide the required equipment, to make it compulsory for state governments to report every snake bite case so that there is no delayed treatment. And if treatment is given to them properly, then it won't be that dangerous also. All right. There is another challenge. Look, whenever you are bitten by a dangerous snake whose bite is filled with dangerous poison, then you can only be saved by an anti-venom. Okay. Now, the problem with anti-venom is that in India, different snakes have different types of bites. The venom of these different snakes have different biochemical compositions, right? Now, to develop to develop an anti-venom, you need to have access to the venom of that snake. So let's suppose we are talking about cobra, Indian cobra. Indian cobra's venom has a particular biochemical composition. Okay. Now you need access to this venom. You have to take this venom to a lab, analyze it, and then only you can develop an anti-venom against this particular venom. Okay. But this venom, this anti-venom won't work against the venom of a viper. Okay. So viper also has a type of venom which is different in biochemical composition. So to develop an anti-venom for a viper's bite, you need access to this venom to study its biochemical composition. All right. So anti-venoms can only be developed if you have access to venoms of different species. Now, in India, we have a variety of snake species, and we do not have access to the venom of all of them. Okay, there is lack of availability of diverse range of venoms to create anti-venoms that caters to all regions of India. You might have access to venom of cobra, but you don't have access to venom of viper. So anti-venom for cobra bite won't work against anti-venom of viper. That is why experts have suggested to set up zonal venom collection banks. Okay, these banks would be set up in different parts of India and would collect venoms from different snake species so that we can develop their anti-venoms. But the problem is that Wildlife Protection Act 1972 prevents access to these different snake species. So that is why the idea of having these zonal venom collection banks, well, it doesn't get implemented. All right, let's talk a bit more about anti-venoms. Okay, so look, almost all the venom that is used to develop the antivenom comes from snakes caught by Irula tribe. So in India, and you have to listen to this carefully, in India, all the medical experts who are developing antivenoms, they need to have access to different venoms, right, of different snakes. Now in India, all the venoms, okay, are taken by snakes caught by Irula tribe. Okay. Now this Irula tribe uh, is found in Nilgiri region of South India. So that is Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Kerala. Okay. So these Irula tribes are experts in catching snakes. So they extract their venom and provide to the medical authorities, and they analyze them, and the antivenom is generated. But there is no other source of venom in India. We only gather venom from this Irula tribe. Now, this venom won't work, this anti venom developed from these venoms won't work against a snake, let's say in Assam, right? So, this is a problem because all the venoms for developing anti venom comes from this Irula tribe. So, it doesn't cover all venom. In fact, as it has been said, that 90% of the snakebite cases come from Big Four. So, commercially, the antivenoms commercially available are called polyvalent antivenom. So, these polyvalent antivenom work against the venoms of Big Four, okay, Indian cobra, viper, and all that, which is effective in 80% of the cases. All right. Okay. And our last news item is Cauvery drinking water project. So, Bangalore Water Supply and Sewage Board sought the support for revising drinking water tariffs amid rising operational costs and financial shortfalls. So, Bangalore Water Supply and Sewage Board has said that they would increase the water bill of Bangalore's residents. And the reason for that is that they are short of funds because their costs have increased. Okay, their cost of management of pipelines, pumping of water, it has increased. So that is why, to prevent them from reaching bankruptcy, they need to revise water bills. Now, Bangalore, most of Bangalore gets water from Cauvery drinking water project. Now, recently, stage 5 of this Cauvery drinking water project was inaugurated because Bangalore faces severe water shortages. That is why recently stage 5 was inaugurated, so that more drinkable water is provided to more areas of Bangalore. But Bangalore Water Supply and Sewage Board says that because of the cost of this stage 5 project and implementation of stage 5 project, their costs have increased. And because their costs have increased, they have to increase water bills. Now, people won't be happy with this, but BWSSB is seeking the support of local MLAs and MPs to convince to people that it is required at this very moment. Now, what is the situation of drinkable water, or what is the background of drinkable water, or the availability of drinkable water in Bangalore? All right. So, till the end of 19th century, okay, Bangalore's drinking water needs were served by a network of lakes. So Bangalore has a lot of lakes, it has a lot of tanks, and drinkable water was made available from these lakes and tanks. Okay, but by the middle of 20th century, the population of Bangalore skyrocketed. Okay, and because of that, there was more demand for drinkable water. So Bangalore city authorities decided that a nearby river in Bangalore called Arkavati River, which flowed along the western edge of the city, they need to make this river a source for providing drinkable water. So by 1950s, 1940s, 50s, 60s, Bangalore's water needs came from Arkavati River. But by 1960s, Bangalore's population again skyrocketed. Okay, it reached 16 lakh, and Arkavati River was not able to satiate the demands of drinkable water of the city. Therefore, it was thought that now we need to tap in another river called Cauvery River, which is a big river and a perennial one. A lot of water flows through this river. So now, because of high demand from Bangalore, because of increase in population, well, authorities thought that now we need to tap in Cauvery River, and because of that, Cauvery Water Supply Scheme was launched in 1974. Stage 1 was implemented. Okay. By the end of implementation of stage 4, Cauvery project had an installed capacity for supply of 1310 million liters of water. Okay. Now, water from perennial Cauvery River is very difficult to get to Bangalore. Okay. Because Bangalore is at an elevation of 900-meter above sea level. Now, this is much higher than the height of river. So, water needs to be pumped to a particular height and then distributed through a network of pipelines to provide to Bangalore. Okay. And Cauvery River is kind of 86 kilometers away from the sea. So a lot of pumping needs to be done. Now, the entire cost of pumping and maintaining pipelines falls on BWSSB. And BWSSB says that this is a lot. I mean, this is a lot for us. We need to increase water bills. Okay. Now, all the 5 stages are funded by a mix of state government resources and loans from Japan International Cooperation Agency. Now, BWSSB is responsible for operating the system and for providing interest payments to these loans. Okay, so BWSSB is responsible for giving interest on these loans. Plus, their cost of pumping has also increased. That is why they are saying water bills have increased. Now, this information would really come in handy while answering questions related to water shortages in urban India. Bangalore is a classic example of water shortages in urban India. Urban India's population is increasing unsustainably and dramatically. All right. Okay. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And please do not forget to revise these current affairs. Download the notes from our Telegram channel and spend the necessary 20 minutes to remember these current affairs for longer periods of time. On that note, I'll be signing off. Thank you so much, everyone.